Diplomat Vohra, I come back to you, and I understand that this is, of course, an internal domestic political issue or, of course, a criminal federal issue with regard to America. How should India be viewing this? Because we are also, with the upcoming visit coming in of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we're looking at a friendship, bilateral ties with America, but we have also seen the bonhomie between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and former President Donald Trump. Should, or do you think India would be giving out any statement at this juncture, or should just be cautiously waiting and watching how this proceeds?
I believe that we will wait and watch. Remember, ma'am, that this is an internal American process.
Correct.
We will not comment on internal process. The Americans might say all kinds of funny things about the treatment of minorities in India, human rights and all that nonsense. We don't do it. That's not our business. It's an internal matter. So the visit will go ahead. All arrangements are being made in New York, in Washington, where I was. There is a tremendous amount of excitement, not just amongst the diaspora, but also amongst the media. And the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, will have several media interviews, interactions. Investors are very excited, all charged up. You know, we used to talk of China plus. Now the new buzzword there, which I had contributed to, is China minus India plus. Where China goes and now it's India. So I don't think it'll have an impact. Yes, he did have a good relationship with with our Prime Minister. That is separate from state-to-state relations. The Prime Minister also has a very good relationship with Joe Biden, and that is certainly going to help in our visit. So I don't see it happening in any way impacting on the forthcoming visit.
I like the metaphor that you've used of China minus and India plus, because India is a rising global power. It is also in many ways changing the set global order that we've seen for many, many decades. Staying with this issue, Diplomat Vohra, how do you see the relationship between India and US going? We understand that with President Trump facing the charges that he is, and our friendship already with Joe Biden as well at this point, how do you think India will play this politically? Is this about individuals right now, or is this about simply put between two countries?
Oh, you are talking about our relationship with the United States overall?
Yes, correct.
Oh, ma'am, that is booming. I mean, the most recent thing for making those engines in India, that's a game changer. It has never happened before between the United States and any other country. At this point of time, ma'am, for a moment, I pose this question to the millions of people watching your show. All right, one of you is the President of the United States. You have problems with Russia, you have problems with China, you are having difficulties in Latin America, you have challenges in Africa and the Middle East. Who can you depend on to provide stability in Asia? There's only one answer, India. Who can you depend on to make sure that the economic crisis in Asia and afflicting the world comes to an end? Who can you depend on to grow very fast? The answer is India. You know, there is this thing called Morning Consult, a respected American public affairs company, and they recently published their weekly report. Again, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, out of 22 heads of government, ranks the highest with a 75 or 76% rating. Joe Biden is 9 or 10 or something like that. Then there is the latest IMF report. Then there is the Morgan Stanley's report, which says that India is at a position that it has never been before. Now it's head of the world. And then you had this character, whom I love very much, Albanese, the Australian, referring to Prime Minister Narendra Modi as Bruce.
As a rock star.
As Bruce Springsteen, the fellow who was most famous. You're too young to remember this, but when I was posted in the United States, getting a ticket for a concert, you had to book a year in advance, particularly if he was going to sing his song called Born in the USA. So this is the kind of thing. And then Bruce Springsteen was referred to as the boss because he was at that time the boss. So when Albanese says Modi is the boss, this tells you about the international stature. What I can say is that the United States, this is, by the way, the third state dinner that Joe Biden will be hosting. I think it was the South Korean and one more, the French for Macron. This will be the third time. So this is absolute endorsement of India and a statement to the world. The India moment is here.
Diplomat Vohra, you know, I'm curious to understand what's the mood like in USA right now with regard to what's been happening in Trump. You've seen both the media life in your career as a diplomat, you've seen the political life as well. When an incident of this stature occurs, which is a former president gets indicted, even though of course the trial is set to begin, but how is the mood like? Because I understand Republican, Democrat supporters are extremely divided. The debates can get really hot-headed, the tempers can be running high. When this indictment came, what kind of mood are we looking at around you in the country, in USA?
Well, in New York, which is a democratic state, there was exultation. Wow, 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 sabak sikhaya isko. Whereas in the Republican state, it was, this is unfair, you can't do this to a former president. He was a great guy, he was trying to make America great again. Look at all the wonderful things that he did. The economy boomed, he did this, he improved relations with India, etc., etc. He was trying, had he been president, the Ukraine crisis wouldn't have occurred. Many things that are being said in his favor. On the other hand, the Democratic media and the members of the Democratic Party, which includes my son, they don't like this fellow at all, and they're saying, no, it's time that he was taught a lesson. Whatever happens, this particular episode, ma'am, and I've been a student of American history, fascinated by that country. America has an amazing ability, like India, to self-correct. And I believe that this is a cathartic moment for the United States. You know, there are racial divisions, the economic divisions, all kinds of, everybody picks up a gun every second day. A fellow picks up a weapon and goes around shooting people. We've just had a shooting, yesterday? So when these things happen, America has to wake up, and I believe it will. This will be a seminal moment, judge and analyze for decades to say that, well, this is what happened to the fellow, but that was when America found its soul again. I certainly hope it happens, because I love that country dearly, next only to my own. So I think there will be excitement, but there's not going to be any impact on the day-to-day lives of people. A fellow is in jail, all right, there he is. We'll deal with this when we come to it. I don't think it's going to make any impact, except that his hardcore supporters might decide to do another, 9 January or whatever they did, for which they were arrested and many people have been sentenced. Well, I don't think that will happen, but there will be sporadic instances of violence and demonstrations in favor of Donald Trump.
How do you see Donald Trump reacting now? We've already seen the first reaction coming in from him. He's blaming it on the Biden administration, but having known him and the manner in which he had his presidency for the past few years, he is going to give out some absolutely hot-headed statements. He's going to get more critical. He's not someone who holds back in his comments. Do you think that's also likely to increase? Because we haven't had a statement yet from Joe Biden, and that's understandable. He doesn't have to. But Democrats also haven't reacted as strongly. So do you think it is going to be the charge led by Donald Trump on this, and he's going to make it look like in a global scenario that this is a witch hunt against someone who could be making America great again?
Oh, absolutely. That's his trump card. I mean, pardon the pun. That's Trump's trump card. Make America great again. We used to be the hyperpower of the world. There was this fellow, Francis Fukuyama, who was once upon a time my teacher, who wrote about the end of history after the Soviet Union collapsed. There was a senator who said, when the world dials an emergency number, it rings in Washington. There was this period in American history when it was absolute tops culturally, economically, politically, militarily. That has changed, because now it's no longer a unipolar, bipolar, not even a multipolar world. What we have today is a non-polar world. There are so many people coming up and saying, I'll do this, that, and the other. So it won't have any impact on reality, ma'am. It would have had an impact if a sitting president had been indicted, because then his behavior can be different. But he's a former president. He doesn't play any major role in international affairs now. So what he's first going to do is priority number one will be to fight these charges like hell. And he's a fighter. He'll fight it. You remember even when he was taken to jail in the previous state indictment in Manhattan, he said, look, this is surreal. It shouldn't be happening to me. I can't believe this is happening. And he was detained. He was fingerprinted. And then I think he was iris screened also. And then he was let out. So let us see what happens. He's not going to give up. Two things are clear. He's not going to give up without a fight. And second, this was a divisive element which America didn't need at this time, when people are trying to heal the wounds of the